They have released the dog. I'm Lil Rick the gamer, do it 100% gamer, bro. If no one else working hard, I would do it for the damage. Can't contain my flow. I need to play a game for sure. Maybe RTS, RPG, or maybe even MMO.
Howdy, and welcome back to another video for Lucid Adventure Idle RPG. Now I need you to hit that like and subscribe buttons as I post content daily. Today we're about to do the ultimate end all be all subjugation guide. Alright, it's probably not the end all be all, but we're getting close to it. And I've done a lot of tests. I done shared plenty of my thoughts. We done did so many how-to, so to speak, subjugations, and I've acquired so much information over time that I believe I got Subjugation 11 down to a science for the most part. There's still a lot of things I haven't tested, like Dark. Like, I haven't been able to really test him and see how he is as a damage dealer, but for the most part, everyone else have been sort of kind of tested. This is probably going to be a really long video. I'm probably saying maybe about 30 minutes or so, so I'm just forewarning early in the video, so there's going to be timestamps for each section of this video. Alright, so let's get right into it. So we're going to start with our setup. And this is not our setup. I'm going to do this on both accounts so you can kind of get a grasp of what's going on. But we're going to start with our setup. And in our setup are the units that we're choosing. Let's actually go back into the subjugation and go just choose a random one. So we get 8 units that we have to choose. Our front line and our back line. Now, for our front line, what is important for us to have is characters that's going to apply our buffs and our debuffs. Like how I have Sora here, she gives us an attack buff. So we want to get that off as early as possible so we can have damage coming out as early as possible. You don't necessarily have to have everyone that applies a buff or a debuff in the front row. It's kind of like a mix or a toss-up. I just find it comfortable to have at least one of my DPS come out early in the fight and my attack buff early on, and then possibly my defense break. Do I not have a warrior in this team? Like, what was I doing? All right, here's a better probably team looking. But like, we have both our physical defense break here and our attack buff here that's in our front line. One of our main DPS, Osgod, just because she does what she does. We already familiar with Osgod, so just having her out early is just I believe is pretty good. Same thing, same kind of setup here, and I believe this setup is similar, but maybe a little different. I'm not sure why we had, I'm not sure why we have Warrior right here. I probably can swap it around. It works fine for me like this, but generally you want to have some form of a buff or a debuff. I believe we have Pooh come out early in the Todd fight for protecting Osgod in the air or any other aerial unit that we might be using, like Light for instance. Now, for our backline, we want some of our extra raw damage back there just so we can get as much damage out as possible for whoever. Do I not do War Machine on? I don't think I do War Machine on this. On this, I'm not sure because I'm like, why is Dark in there? I haven't used him on my main in quite some time, but some of our damage dealers, and depending on which ones, I kind of have certain characters come out at certain intervals, so I might go in depth into talking about that in this video, but if not, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter as much who's in the front or the back line like that, just long as you can get that attack buff from Sora up and possibly one of your defense breaks, either your physical defense break from Warrior or your magic defense break from Lime. And that all depends on who are your main damage dealers in the fight as well. So if you're building more magical damage dealers, then you definitely want Lime's defense break, and if you're building more physical damage dealers, you want Warrior's defense break. So let's go in here to our characters. Now, Warrior, his skills don't have anything that that does anything to the enemy's defense. But if we go over to his master's blacksmith affection and we look at the details and we look at what our skill changed to, and here it says grant physical defense down effect enough to disable a single target, physical damage, blase splee, physical defense down, blase splee. We're not about to read everything, but just saying, letting you know you have the physical death break on this weapon. So you have to have this weapon equipped for you to get the benefits of that defense break because it's important. And then he's kind of like one of your tanks too. So have him go in and tank, and then he has the defense break. Now Sora here, she already has in her skill the meal, and you got to make sure you get that maxed out as best as you can. But already have the meal that gives us the attack up, which is our attack buff. But I believe it gets enhanced if I'm correct on her last karma weapon here. We go to the details. It's so small on my screen, it's kind of hard for me to read. But it says a special meal for the subjugation round. The attack and physical defense of the team members will increase greatly in the subjugation round. Attack up 33%, subjugation round attack 40% plus 1% per level, subjugation round physical defense 200% plus 5% per level. So I believe that means the level that you're facing of the subjugation. So since we're talking about subjugation 11, it's going to add that extra percentage on top of it. So the attack buff does tremendous damage. Like when we get into the battle, you're going to see the damage that's going to come out. It's going to be insane. So that's going to be important. So that makes them staple units to have. Another one that I overlooked and I didn't realize until my buddy Panda was like, "Why aren't you using Choco BB?" Like, I just don't have him built. And he was like, "What?" He gives you the crit damage. His first one here, because this is the one that gives you the attack stuff. So you got the bonus invasion still for 35%, and then it says crit damage 40% plus 1% per level. Effects will change to all allies. So it all depends on, I guess, their levels individually, but you get the extra crit damage. So, and it says greatly increase invasion rate and crit damage to all allies. So you get extra crit damage on top of what you're doing, which was going to make your damage insane. So that gives us 3 staple units that we must have in this fight. Warrior for our physical defense break, Sora for our attack buff, Choco for our crit damage buff. Pooh is sort of a staple as well because her trainer gives you 2 flying zombies that are immune to physical damage. So it says summon 2 riders that attack while flying, and they fly and grants critical damage up effect on all allies according to the soul absorption amount. Riders attack up amount 180%. Team crit damage up 19.5%. So she gives a extra crit damage, not as much as Choco does, but she also gives an extra crit damage buff. But those flyers are going to protect your Asgard, and they kind of sort of can protect Light. Light kind of like to stand in the front line a little more, or he like to fly in the front line a little more. So his protection, so him being protected by them, is not as good as how they protect Asgard, since she likes to be way in the back. So he might still take damage if you're using him as a damage dealer. But we'll see that as we get into the battles and everything. But Pooh is a staple and a must-have. Lime is not necessarily a must-have other than Todish, or unless you're using mostly magic as your magic damage dealers like Asgard, Dark, and Light as your main DPS, then you would need Lime in every fight because of her split wave skill that says weaken magic damage and magic defense down. So if they do any magic damage, it's not going to do that much. And then she gives you the magic death break, which is going to be staple for you to have. So these are all your staple units. So we got 8 that we need. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. At this point, you can pretty much put anyone else in of your choosing. Of course, you're going to have Osgod, so you might as well say she is staple just because she just puts out good damage regardless of anything. But then at that point, you still can put in whoever you want for your other damage dealers. Like I said, I haven't tested Dark out, so I don't know what his damage look like, but I know Tempest does good damage. Drip Soup is kind of one of the ones a lot of people are using. He might be the best damage dealer. I'm not quite sure because I haven't really tested anything side by side with the same kind of level and build and stats to really justify if there's something better than him or not. But so far, he does kind of like win out in a lot of battles. Light is a great damage dealer. Swordsman can do damage, but he's good for tanking, especially early on when you're first starting, because he has a skill that allows him to be immune to physical damage. His Moonlight Slash Slide, so it gives him the physical immunity. So anything that does damage, he can pretty much tank. He can pretty much tank that since he'd be physically immune, which will be great. Plus, he just providing extra bit of damage. He's not going to be your highest damage dealer, and he has a random attack up that he would give as well, which changes or it increases with his release, which here says increases the attack up additionally in proportion to the critical rate with a powerful shout. Bonus attack 20% plus 13.73%. So it's random that it will go up, but if you have high crit rate on that in particular unit, they're going to do so much more damage with that attack up that he would apply. And it only happens to one unit, so you don't know who's going to get it, but yet and still it's more damage, and you want more damage. That's just what you want when you're doing these fights. You're generally using your subjugation weapons, and I guess I showed you some of the weapons that we're bringing in for Tempest. Of course, it'd be his last karma weapon that he would use, which is not as the easy to obtain, because there's some characters that will be better suited for more early game builds, while others are more suited for more later game builds. Probably one of the reasons why Dark isn't one that I've tested so far, because his main weapon that you will be using for subjugation is one of his blessed karmas, which is harder to obtain, so it's not as easy to build him because of that. But you have the regular karma, so you can just make as many karma weapons as you can possible. You're going to get plenty of like Master Blacksmith's affection for warrior. Sora's not one of your damage dealers, she's just your buffer. So long as you can get the taste of fire, you're good to go there. You definitely want to do investment into this weapon for other reasons as well, like your high purity karma for the max character power up, but that has nothing to do with subjugation, so we just keep moving on. One that's tougher to get is Choco BB. It's hard to invest into him right away, because it's like you're going to use this one for the critical damage buff, and then you get the extra attacks and the crit damage. But the problem is it's a blessed karma, and his regular karma weapons are PvP related, and we all know PvP is trash. So it's like it's going to be difficult in that aspect to get it. But at some point, you definitely want to invest in him. You don't need him right away, but you definitely want to keep that into consideration to bring him into your team composition as you start making more karma weapons. Drip is another one that has an easier to obtain karma weapon, which is his Frostsaw Blade, the very first one. You see I have this baby transcended twice to get his insane damage out if I can possible, but it's easy to obtain for him, so this is one of the reasons why he's used, on top of him just being insanely broken when it comes to his damage output compared to some of the other ones that I have seen so far. Light is another one that has it easier to obtain with his divide. It's easier to obtain than the blessed karma weapons, so he's a good one that you can build early on. Swordsman has release, which is the only one that you're going to use that gives the team crit damage. He doesn't have anything for subjugation. And just to keep in mind, the only stats that apply into subjugation are going to be subjugation. Well, the only stats that don't apply into subjugation rather is attack, HP, and defense, because subjugation has subjugation attack, subjugation HP, and subjugation defense. So those three stats are the only ones that don't apply, and those three stats are the only ones that you will have to focus in specifically for subjugation. So your crit damage is going to apply to your subjugation attack while you're doing subjugation battle. So you want to make sure you stack as much subjugation attack as you can possible and as much crit damage and crit rate as you can possible. But you will see that a lot of the characters have extra team subjugation attack, so you want as much team subjugation attack. And some characters don't have team base, but it's subjugation attack for them, so as long as they coming in with team subjugation attack, team crit damage for themselves if they're a damage dealer, that is fine. One of the ones that is a toss-up that you're going to probably swap around depending on the battle that you face will be the Dragon Hunter and the Warm Breeze. Personally, I just keep Warm Breeze, and the reason why I keep Warm Breeze online is because the skill that changed that will give her a physical immunity. It's really small on my screen, so me trying to read this is tough, but you have a physical immunity with the Warm Breeze, so when you're doing bosses like Watchman, who has all physical attacks, she can tank relatively well for you in those aspects. Granted, she gets the skill off when she uses this weapon. Other than that, other than dealing with physical damage, then you'll probably opt to use Dragon Hunter just because it's just going to help your team have more attack and more survivability with the team subjugation HP. So that's that. Now, for Osgod, she doesn't really have much that's good, so you're going to kind of use her regular legendary Torture that's going to give a lot of crit damage and crit rate for your team. You could use Medicine that's going to also give crit damage to the team, and subjugation attack for herself, but unless you're using her as your main damage dealer, you're better off just building Torture, because it's just going to give you so much more team crit damage, and that's so much more damage that your team will be able to dish out, and not just her. So that's kind of why you use that weapon over the other. I haven't did anything because I don't think Heart Heater has one that's good for subjugation, so haven't did anything with him. I guess at best you will use this weapon for him that gives your team crit damage. I'm not quite sure about how good he is for subjugation, him or any of the ones past him. Like I don't bring any of these characters in or use any of them. You don't get any bonuses for Nightmare Magic and False Magic from Constant, so he's not really a mainstay. He does got some of his epics that do give you subjugation stats team wise, which is beneficial, but he's not one that you'll bring in. Arms is another one. Since they don't have karma weapons that scale relatively high, they're not really the ones that you will be using or bringing to this fight. So I will opt out of using those for now until they probably get something later on down the line. That is them. Now let's talk about our prizes here. Our prizes. And for our prizes, of course, I don't have all of them, but let me pull up. We'll start at the top. And for the ones I don't have, I just use the alternate account to kind of coincide because I think it has some of the ones that I don't. But you definitely want to have whatever gives you subjugation team attack for it, or whatever subjugation stats that you have, preferably subjugation team attack. Now also, when it comes to transcending, when it comes to transcending, you will also want to transcend a prize, because when you transcend a prize, the stats you get are tremendous. Can I pull? So I'll just go to one of the prizes. I don't think these are really a good example, but okay, this one at the top, where it says attack, and then it has 1.748%, but when you transcend it, it shoots directly to 28.97B%. So this is going from 147% to 28,970%. That is a tremendous jump in power, and that's the way transcend is for your attack on prizes scale crazy. So anything that gives you subjugation attack for your team is going to be great for your overall damage. So Warrior has a great prize for you to be able to transcend if you were to choose to transcend his first. If we go over to Darks is selfish, so I wouldn't say this will be a first. And since I haven't tested him on damage, which I think he still will probably be good on damage, but you know, don't quote me on that because I didn't test it, so I don't know. But I wouldn't opt for his because he doesn't boost the team; he just boosts himself, and that'll be something that I wouldn't even have as a secondary, maybe a tertiary, or maybe something else later on down the line. Another one that is kind of the same with Sword wouldn't be a first one that I would choose, but it's still overall decent. Yeah, this gives team subjugation HP. Well, you're gonna get subjugation HP through other areas, so it's not important for you to transcend Choco's prize at all. At least not yet. Well, I messed up my subjugation setup for my alternate account, but I'll go back and change that up later. Okay, Tempest has a good one for you to be able to transcend early on. That has team subjugation attack and extra subjugation attack for himself later on down the line. Drip Soup has a really strong one that also has team subjugation attack and more subjugation for himself and for the team later on down the line. It just gets stronger and stronger as you level it up. Light has one as well, but you have to get his to +3, which isn't easy. Easy to do right away, but if you save up your subjugation coins, you can buy it outright and get it that way. That's how I was able to get it on my alternate account, for you to be able to have the extra subjugation team attack team attack for him as well as your team. So he doesn't have one if you can't get it right, if you can't get the subjugation team attack right away, so he might not be the best one to transcend first, but if you can get it, then his is fine as well. Alright, Pooh doesn't have one that is optimal for subjugation, so we're not going to worry about that. The next one that I'm going to do personally, and also that gets double team subjugation attack especially once you get it to +3, is Limes, which is a great one. She possibly has the best one to be first, to be honest, if you can get it to +3, because that's double team for everybody. So that's something to think about and look out for. Warrior, no, he doesn't have anything. Osgod, no, none of her stuff does anything. Heart, what is his second one? Oh yeah, his second one, no. I can pull that down here. Like, neither one of his do anything for subjugation on the team level, so that's not an option. Neither does Lubu, none of Constance, or Arms for that matter. Neither one of Arms as well. Alright, so for this next section, we're going to talk about your basic requirements. Now, once again, we're doing Subjugation 11 here. Subjugation 11. This is where you're able to get Transcendent Stones. And this is where we're going to base all our information off of. So Todish is definitely in a league of his own when it comes to the scaling and everything. War Machine will be the next difficult, so forth and so on down the line. So the easiest one will be Old War Machine. But when it comes to your base requirements to be able to take on at least Old War Machine, we're going to go over to our stats. Let's bring it. So it's Subjugation Attack 36.48B. And we can take down the Old War Machine with our alternate account. We do lose a lot of people just because we don't have high enough subjugation HP and defense. Now, a good baseline for your survival for subjugation HP is at least 10B. If you have at least 10B HP, you're going to do good on surviving, and at least 3B subjugation defense. At the very least, you'll be able to take at least 1 to 2 hits for Watchman if you have those stats. And I completely tested that out because at one point I had those stats and I was getting wrecked. But at least 1 to 2 hits from Watchman. So you'll be able to take a decent amount of hits from Old War Machine. So if you work on your subjugation HP and defense as well and get those numbers as high as possible, you will be able to survive longer so you can make it to time to dish out more damage, because when you first start off, you're not going to do a lot of damage. You're not going to survive long enough to be able to do a lot of damage. And if you don't have a prize transcended yet, and especially for you guys that haven't even gotten to Subjugation 11, or you just get into Subjugation 11 and you haven't been able to get transcended stones or anything like that, it's going to be a little rough. So you want to invest into your survivability as well as in your damage. But once you get enough transcendent stones to get you a prize, your damage is going to carry you, but do not neglect your survivability, because that's going to be critically important once you start taking on Venomous Todish, where you want to shoot upwards of 5B subjugation defense and like 20 to 30B subjugation HP for your survival, because Venomous Todish does not play. He got them hands. Alright. As far as crit rate and crit damage, definitely want to be over 100% on your crit rates, and your crit damage definitely over, I want to say 1.5, about 1A, about 1A or so. About 1A is good enough for you to scale your damage a little well on your units. Like, I can go to my stats here on my main for my drip here, and we can see like his stats scale like tremendously. And these are the stats that I take into Venomous Todish, and we able to get so much more damage, so much more scaling. Just like, it's on a whole nother level for how much damage I'm able to dish out with my characters and everything on this account in relation to the other one. Since it's still relatively early, you can see the difference in not just the subjugation attack, but the defense and the HP. Meet those requirements and you shall do well as far as taking on these bosses. Now we're going to move on to doing some test runs. We're going to do some on the main as well as the I want to do some on the alternate account first, because I believe that's the one that will be best suited to show you some of the lesser fights. We're going to start here with Old War Machine. Alright, so this is our setup. Some of our characters don't really have that much built up on them. I've been working on them as best as I can. You see, we kind of just got Tempest in here because I like using him, but and we don't have Choco BB's first Blessed Karma weapon, so we're not able to get the extra crit damage off of that. So we'll just opt for just having Tempest to just dish out some extra damage for our team in that aspect. So we're gonna do a practice run here. In the fight, what I'm doing here, since Light is going to be our main DPS, we're watching him for when he does his little beam attack, which is coming now, and we want to protect Light. Alright. And we're going to watch him again. So he's going to like lean in, and then he's going to lean in again. And then, yep, there we go right there. So when he does that lean the second time around, that's when we go to protect our light, because he's our main damage dealer and he's going to be focused heavily. You're not going to have to worry about that so much. Okay, I did it too soon. Little. Can he not die? Alright, so we should still clean up here. Osgod should finish. And he's slowed down, so he's not going to be able to get to us. And you see he was able to do damage there. But you notice our team died. It's because we don't have enough subjugation HP and another subjugation defense to be able to do that. To be able to do this fight, I will show it on my main, but it won't happen long enough. So that's kind of what you got to do when you need to protect someone. When you need to protect someone like Light, if he's your main damage dealer, you got to keep worry of that. So in other words, you're mostly going to be protecting your damage dealer in the fight. You don't want them to get attacked. So if any of the attacks or anything they do is going to focus your damage dealer, you're going to want to make sure you have your skills ready for that skill. So like I said before, he's going to do his lean, and the second time he lean, he's going to shoot the beam out of his eyes. And that's only going to be important if your damage dealer is in the air. So that would be Osgod and Light. Other than that, if you have a frontline damage dealer, let's do this fight again. Like Drip Soup. Drip is probably going to have a problem with survival, but you're going to want to make sure you spam your skill for Drip as much as you can possible to make sure he does not die. So he's going to be attacking the air while he does this, and that leaves your front line protected. But when he does his slam, you're going to want to spam your skill if Drip Soup or anybody else that is frontlining is your main damage dealer. So alright, he does his air thing, and then we protect Drip. Oh no, we misclicked. I misclicked there, but you get the. I'm sure you get the picture. We protect him. We protect him at each interval. I personally prefer a range damage dealer over a frontline damage dealer because their survival is a lot higher. So characters like Light, characters like possibly Dark. We still not quite sure on Dark yet, but characters like Osgod, Light, and Tempest are best in this suit because they are a little easier to protect and don't take much damage. But that is the War Machine fight. I think we can do Primitive Demon. Primitive Demon is a little bit different, but we're gonna go through and explain him as well. So let's go ahead and start our practice run. Now in this fight, he's gonna slash down on your team, and then he's gonna start throwing out his little boomerangs after his third slash. And then we protect ourselves here. Now everything that's in the air is going to get hit with this. Then he does that 3 times there. And then he's going to do his slash again. And then we need to protect ourselves in the air. It doesn't do a crazy amount of damage, but it can hurt. It definitely can hurt. So we might not be able to keep Light alive here. Nope. So we're going to have to go with Osgod. So this one's a little rough for aerial damage dealers. You can still get away with it, but it's a little rough for your aerial damage dealers. And something that I failed to mention earlier on in the video that you want to work on and that you want to actually put forth some effort and some gems into is your madness, your increased madness time. Now what this is going to do is allow you to do extra damage. You're going to crit more, you're going to do more damage faster, as well as once you under madness, you are immune for a short duration of time. So the higher you level this up, the longer you're going to be immune to damage. So when you're using your skills in battle, you're going to be underneath the madness effect. We can go to the main and I can show you how leveled up and progressed my madness is here. Now, I believe you should get your madness above a 20. You definitely want it above 20 so you can have it longer, especially for the Todish fight. You definitely want to be above 20 on the Todish fight because you can get, because of the timing for Todish is crazy, and Primitive Demon as well has for the timing is a little bit crazy there too, because he throws the little boomerang things 3 times and your madness might run out by the time the third one comes, so you have to have your timings on point for your aerial DPS not to be hit, or just your ground based DPS when he does his slash on the ground. So let's go ahead back in here to our subjugation one more time. We're going to do another run of the Primitive Demon. And this time we're going to go for protecting drip. As soon as we get there, we go for our skill to make sure he stays alive as long as possible. Then he's going to start throwing on, which everybody kind of gets hit. And I'm going to protect him here because he's about to start taking damage. And now, hopefully we get our skill up in time. Nope, and he goes down. So now you see what I mean. Like, it's hard to protect. It's hard to protect frontline damage dealers just because they take all of the damage that happens up close since they have to be up close. So having a ranged damage dealer is a little bit better in this aspect. But that's early on. You can stick through it and take the deaths and take the struggle and not be able to really dish out as much damage or kill until you can get them tanky enough or able to do enough damage to stomp the boss before the boss can kill you. But that's entirely up to you and what you may decide on that battle. So let's move on to the one that I tested the most and probably the best boss, I would say, for Tempest. And I probably should do this on my main. I'm going to probably do way too much damage and he's going to die really fast. So what we're going to do is handicap ourselves a little bit, just a little bit. We're going to go to Watchman here and we're going to remove drip. I'm sure we should be good here. Probably remove drip and let's remove Osgod as well. See if this will let us run. Alright, so we'll put Dark in here because we don't really utilize him, and let's put like Lubu in. This should be good for us. We shouldn't have no issues here. Okay. So since he only has physical attacks from the front line, a character like Tempest does not get touched. So long as your front line is tanky enough to survive, you can do this match and not worry about Tempest getting touched at all. Now, I was having problems because I was using Drip Soup and Drip would die on this battle like all the time. He was just die. We're pretty tanky, so we can take like a lot of hits from him now, but I was only able to take like maybe 1 to 2 hits. At the most 2. At the most is like 2, we're done. But like one hit, and once my team died, I just once my team started dying off, I start spamming my skills for Tempest to make sure Tempest stays alive the longest to get the most damage off. So this is his best matchup, and I guess I could try it out on the art, even though my Tempest is not built on the art. And you're gonna see our team take a lot of damage here. They're gonna take a lot of damage on the art. Like you see, we almost like over a third of our health, almost a half of our health gone. Just like that, when he does his slam, we're going to take a lot of damage here, but we're just letting it build up. Normally, I will protect Drip for like a couple hits. Protect Drip for like a couple hits just so he could survive. Sometimes I'm able, if I can take a hit from Tempest, I would like try to time it as best as I can if I can have good enough RNG where when he does his punch, not his slam, when he does his punch, he punches Tempest back. Ooh, we died there. But he'll punch Tempest back And then that allowed Tempest to live a little bit longer. All right, so he got a little bit close there. So we're going to do it one more time to kind of give you guys a good feel of what goes on for this fight. So, like how I used to do it on a main is I start off and I spam my skill for drip. And then we get drip comes up, and then by the time he starts slamming, we should get another skill coming up, possibly. Drip does his big attack. Drip goes down here. Like on my main, I was surviving a little bit. Alright, so we spamming the skill for Tempest a little bit. Something got in my eye, so I spammed that a little bit too early. Can I get anything off? No, he dies. I'm gonna do this one more time. One more time. And hopefully we can get this right. So, I don't normally do War Machine on this account, and we're like so much stronger on the main now that like we just burst right through him easily. But it'd be no different if you was using an aerial attacker, since they won't be first to get hit. Then you will be okay there. And this is kind of why we have them come in later on down the line. So we're protecting Drip, because I completely forgot to do it, but we're protecting Drip here. Then we're going to do his skill again. Oh, nope, he goes down. All right. So wasn't able to get a skill. Lime finally goes down here. Now he's on slow, so it's going to take a minute for him to get here. And this is good for us because that gives us a chance to get our skills up. So I'm just going to protect Tempest here because he might be taking damage. All right. So we're doing good right now. And we're getting off some good damage on him. Some good damage. So this would be a good run for us if this was a real run. And he's slow. Alright, now he's probably going to go for his slam. So we're going to... Oh, no, he punched. We could have took the punch. Okay, so I keep forgetting. It's 3 punches before he does his slam. And then Tempest goes down. Everybody's down. Alright. But... I'm sure you guys get it now. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our last battle, which is Venomous Todish. Now, he scales so much higher than the rest of the bosses. You have to be really strong. And I already gave the requirements that you should be bringing in to be able to survive. But your timings on Todd is a little different. And you have to have Lime because she's the only character skill that you're going to be using, and that's to protect your team from his breath and his shout for the most part. And sometimes his one shot, one kill skill. You kind of want to watch to see what it does. But you have poo flying zombies that's going to tank it for you. So when he does the one shot kill on them, you don't have to worry about spam and Lime skill. But if he does it on one of your other teammates, then you definitely want to make sure you have that skill up. Reason why you want to have your madness over 20% as well, so you can get the timings for some of it, because sometimes you have to protect yourself from the one shot, and then he would do his breath afterwards. So if your team's not tanky enough, you're gonna die. Like your tanks in your frontline damage dealers are gonna die right away. So he's doing a one shot kill. We're watching out for that. We see one of them die. We're going to wait. We're looking at the clock. So once it gets close to about 1:30, he's going to do it again. So it's coming up again. He's going to do it. And then he's going to do his boom. And then we pop Lime skill. And we're completely immune here. Now this time he's going to do the one-shot kill skill again. It's gone... Okay, so no, first, the breath. We wait, and then now we hit the skill. So we're immune to the breath. And then he's going to do the one-shot skill again. And we want to, right here, protect ourselves because he's going to shout right afterwards. So if our madness is not high enough, you would not survive this. You would not survive. And we're getting close to killing him, because he's going to repeat that sequence over and over, and that's how every boss is. They repeat their sequences over and over and over, so they're going to do those same patterns. So trying to survive until the end will be the biggest thing for you, so make sure you get your stats up. We're going to go back to our stats before we wrap this video up, and I know it's been a long one, but this is why this is the ultimate subjugation guide, because I'm giving you every bit of the mechanics and all that stuff, from your skills, everything that you're going to need to come and combat these bosses and take them all down. All right, so before we wrap it up, we just want to give you some quick tips to recap on the bosses. War Machine, he does his slams a few times. He's gonna lean once. The second time he lean, he shoots his beam. Primitive Demon, he's going to hack the people in front of him a few times, and then he's going to throw his scythe three times, and then he's going to repeat that motion over the same way. War Machine, he's going to slam a few times, and then he's going to punch three times, and then he's going to slam a few times, and then he repeat that sequence. Todish is going to do random attacks. Once you get close, he's going to do his one-shot skill, then he's going to do it a second time. Right after that, he does his breath. Then he's going to start he's going to do a few attacks, and then he's going to start charging. Well, he does his shout. Then he's going to start charging up his breath, and you're going to wait a bit for his breath to get charged. Once he does his breath, then he's going to do a one-shot skill again and immediately does his shout right afterwards. So you make sure you have your madness for all of these things. Make sure you practice. Don't just do your runs. Practice, get familiar with the mechanics, because it's going to be helpful and beneficial. I practice every time I go into these fights before I do a real run. They give you the free practices so you can get the most damage you can get out for your guild and everything in that aspect. So we're going to recap once again and wrap up for our characters. The things that you definitely want to look out for is your subjugation team defense, your subjugation team HP, and your subjugation team attack. You want to get as much as that as you can, as well as your team crit rate and your team crit damage. Karma weapons that you should be investing in, or where you should be investing your karma at, period, is whoever your damage dealer is, whatever karma weapon that they have, or whatever weapon that they have, make sure you get as much as that as possible. Karma weapons that's going to help you with your damage and your survival, that's going to be great. We're going to start here with Dark. Both his base karma weapons give you team crit damage. Investing your karma into these is going to be great. For your overall damage, as well as you get to have a chance to get more of his subjugation weapon. Another one that is good and hands down, in my opinion, the best karma weapons in the game is Pools. Her first and second cheerleader and slinger is going to give you team subjugation attack twice and team subjugation HP twice, as well as the opportunity to get more team subjugation HP, which is going to help your team be tankier, plus team crit damage on her trainer, which is the one that you're using. So those you definitely want to just waste karma into, because leveling those up is just going to help you with your overall survivability and your overall damage. Characters that's going to give you team subjugation, I want to say, well, she gets herself subjugation defense, but team subjugation defense you get from Warrior. Sora needs to be able to tank anyway. This is why we just put her in on the front line and buff. So she gives herself that subjugation defense on the collection effect, which is going to be greatly beneficial. We have more team subjugation effects on Dark. So you're looking for those kind of things as well when we go along the line of the characters that we're going to bring in and what they shall be providing. So leveling up that stuff as much as possible, as many levels into some of these as possible, just following the main ones that I pointed out, which is going to help you and be beneficial for your team and your growth. I'm hoping this is most, if not everything, to cover so far. And I know this is a really long one, but this is, once again, the ultimate subjugation guide. And make sure you smash that like button if you liked the video. If you didn't like the video, there's a button for you guys as well. Link to the Discord where we can discuss more about Subjugation and other stuff in games and things and more Lucid Adventure, Idle RPG. Link to that is in the description box below, as well as the pinned comment below. And don't forget to subscribe if you're new here. Turn those post notifications on so you can see my content when it goes live. Because you want to do that, people. Trust me, some good stuff I'm putting out here for you guys. And this is your host, Gamer Dude 2088. And I'll see you in a video that's probably not as long as this one. And I'm out. Deuces.